It's the podcast that shakes and stirs up pharmacy. Welcome to PBM on the Rocks.
I signed up for the breakup Ticketmaster thing.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I'll have to look at that.
I thought that looked good, not just because I hate Ticketmaster as much as I hate PBMs, but also because I think it would be interesting to see how a breakup would go. Can that be
Can
done?
something that big be broken up?
Because those guys, they're the music equivalent of an MCO. They own the venues. They own the ticket distribution system.
Oh yeah, it's bad.
Yeah, it is. It's horrible. It's like unconscionable. Unconscionable.
You want me to tell you the other little juicy tidbit?
Yeah, please.
Yes, please.
Which you probably already know, but I always knew there was something fishy about this person on LinkedIn. She lost her pharmacy, had her pharmacy license revoked, had her pharmacist license revoked for running an illegal online pharmacy in California, and was filling controlled substances, dangerous drugs. And I knew there was something fishy about her, like I always have all along. And I'm like, this chick's a swindler. And so Deb and I were talking one day, and somehow her name came up, and I was like, please don't tell me you're a fan of hers, because I think she's a swindler. And she was like, no, I'm not a fan of hers. And I was like, okay. So it was a really brief conversation. Well, I like rabbit holes, and I started going down it, and I started digging into all of this. So she had to pay like $200,000 in fines. Well, she always posts these videos about my first pharmacy and my pharmacies and this, that, and the other. So today I was like,
your revenue. Yeah.
So today I was like, I want to know, because I looked up. She's here in Texas. She's got no pharmacy license. She's got no pharmacist license. Texas would never give her a license because they don't play like that. So I just sent her a message, and I was like, hey, so I would love to come see your pharmacy. I wanted to get some front end inspiration. And she said, I don't live near my pharmacies, like multiple pharmacies. And so I was like, oh, well, do you have a website I can check out? And she was like, no. And I was like, oh, I was just looking, for front end inspiration. Sounds like you've got everything figured out. And she was like, no, well, our websites are just really graphics heavy. And she sends me these pictures, just these random pictures of like some front end pharmacy stuff. And I was like, she's a swindler. And I sent her a message back, and I was like, how many pharmacies do you own? Crickets. It's such false advertising, and it pisses me off. And here's what really, really pisses me off, because this guy that has gone through her program came and pitched me about helping me with my pharmacy and, turning things around on the cash flow side. Didn't have a clue about their whole program. We'll come to find out it's her entire pitch. But here's the thing. He wants me to pay him $5,000 and give him 20% of my profit. So this is their program. No. And
so they're trying to
sign a contract for a year. Absolutely. Sign a contract for a year. And I was like, get the fuck out of my pharmacy. This is not happening, buddy. Yeah.
I don't see how anybody who works in pharmacy could ask for 20% of profits. Obviously, they know that pharmacy is not profitable. Like 20% of
but it's just a scheme. It's just a scheme, and it just makes me so
sounds like an MLM
mad.
scheme.
Yeah. All those people out there just like, you got to diversify your revenue. Oh, you need to do this. You need to do more with your front end. You also need to offer these services. They're all fucking swindlers, every one of them. Every time I try to call them out, they're like, "Well, you gotta get with the future, otherwise you're gonna get left behind." And I'm like, what fucking future? You were the guy who was out here telling us MTMs were gonna change everything. You fucking. It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
There's a lot
every
of
single fucking time this happens. Everyone who's actually like, they seem like they got it figured out and making money, they always end up being frauds right now, because they are fucking frauds.
Absolutely. There's no fucking way that the entire rest of us are struggling and doing things correctly, and there's this one golden goose egg that's got it all figured out.
Yeah. We call that out. I think that's something we do need to call out.
I think the message that needs to be put out there, this is just me, but I think the message that needs to be put out there, ask questions.
Yeah.
If these people start promising you the world you should be a little bit leery of what they're promising you. And then if they start asking you for your profits or a share in those profits, that should be the biggest red flag in the world. They're not going to save your business. They might help you a little bit, but if somebody is asking for your profit, negative ghostwriter, out.
Diversify.
Truer words could not be spoken. So I'm just so glad to be back. I've missed the last one or two or possibly more PBM on the rocks just because of unfortunate timing. So that's a little for me like knowing all your friends or like all the cool kids, your friends are getting together and they're all having a drink and you're like, at the doctor's office. I am coming to today's cocktail party with a Greyhound. Greyhound's not just for brunch anymore. But what I wanted to say about this is that there's a story about this, and it's got no plot and it won't take a long time, but it's grapefruit season here in Arizona. So even though, for us it's freezing at 50 degrees, we've still got grapefruit growing. And apparently my friend his neighbor has a magic grapefruit tree. The grapefruits don't taste like grapefruit. They taste like a grapefruit and an orange. They're super sweet, even though they're yellow, and yellow is traditionally kind of like not the sweet one typically.
Yeah.
So I didn't believe it. And I waited for today to try this. And it turns out they were right. It is a magic grapefruit.
Don't believe him.
If
he's
I
promising
can
one of
get-
those
magic, don't believe him.
I can get
Sugar
some
in
more,
that shit.
guys.
He's
I
injecting
will
it with
send
sugar.
you a magic
I
grapefruit.
dare you. I dare
I don't
you.
believe
Prove
it.
it.
I don't believe anyone.
Now, for anyone who's seen Vodka, if for some reason over the course of this podcast my hair turns a different color or I grow weird looking ears, please tell me.
A bushel for everyone, please.
No, you need to
Public
tell us
service
if we start
announcement.
doing that. I don't know what he put in that grapefruit.
Oh yeah, so magic grapefruit Greyhound in a crystal cut highball is my
I
drink.
like how you're Vanna Whiting the glass. It's very
I know, right?
Because, and even like look at I mean, people who are listening to this are like they're not gonna be able to see this, but even look at the color. Like it is not your typical acid yellow, sour grapefruit. I can't explain it. I'll get some. I'll send it to you. So that's me. What is everybody else drinking tonight?
I went simple. I have some hibiscus ginger beer, which is really yummy. So I did a mule. We'll call it a hibiscus mule.
So when you held it up, I was like, right on. You went for the Sprite and red wine drink recipe I sent you from the New York.
It doesn't look the same color.
Sprite and red wine, people,
I
is
did
a
not
thing.
have vermouth in the house, so I went for the hibiscus mule.
Drinking. Jeremy, what are you drinking? I can't guess.
Today, I'm actually doing something a little different. I'm doing Bulleit bourbon with some ice cubes. I call it urethral fire. And it is urethral fire.
Ooh,
You're dissing the Irish whiskey? This is new.
No, I was just doing something different. I've had this for a little while. I'm not able to drink as much as I normally do with the baby. I don't really want to as much. So it's like, yeah, I've been sipping on this stuff for a minute.
yeah. Future Jeremy will thank you for that. So
Now, fuck that guy. He's always bringing my shit down.
future Jeremy will look back on this day and he'll say,
Fucking nerd.
younger Jeremy, remember those days. Thank God, because we've still got our liver, and that's good.
I ain't gonna have no liver by then. We're being
Yeah,
way
haven't
too
quite
optimistic
figured
right now.
out.
This is a pharmacy podcast. This is way too much optimism. My fucking liver.
Well, I mean, you had a point, I have to say. Okay, Brandi, what are you drinking?
I am drinking a black cherry vodka spritzer,
Ooh.
and it's really yummy. Okay, so I'm obsessed with. Have you seen the like Mio that you can put in your water that
I
flavors it?
Neos.
Mhm.
So black cherry is my absolute favorite.
Yeah.
I love it.
It's
But
really
this
good.
is like,
You
yeah,
know that
oh,
shit's probably giving us cancer. It'll come out later.
I
and we're
know.
just
I
like,
think about that so much.
give me all this artificial flavoring. It's probably just full of like microplastics or some shit. We're just like, fuck yeah, put it in all my
I know.
water.
Every
she'll
time I
have an
squirt it
entire
in there,
salt.
I'm like, I'm drinking more water. I'm drinking more water. It's okay. It'll kill me, but it's okay.
No, that's good. I love it. That's how it should be.
There's Van.
Can you all see that?
Dragon's
Milk
Dragon's
Stout.
Milk.
Man.
Dragon Milk Bourbon Barrel Aged Stout.
Oh, man.
There you
Nice.
go.
You're
So
such a man of taste.
it's 11% alcohol. So
Holy crap.
it's
Wow.
like 2 beers in one.
Man.
It's still, this is good. Your best bourbon aged beer is made by Boulevard. Bourbon Barrel Quad Ale or Whiskey Barrel Stout, or they got another one by Crater. But I don't drink a lot of them because they're $15, $16 a 4-pack.
Oh my gosh. Well, yeah, it's because you're like getting a case of it.
You
It's
don't
like
have to
a
lie to
case
me,
of
man.
beer.
You drink
You don't have to
one.
lie to me,
and
man.
it's
I know
the
you're
equivalent
raging
of 4.
balls.
That's hilarious. So that would be one of those beers that, like around here at the very fancy beer places where they serve it to you in a little tulip glass because you can't be trusted to have a pint of it because
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Now, I did pick up 2 6-packs of Kilt Lifter when I was in Tucson.
Kilt Lifter. Okay, all right. 4-piece.
I like Kilt Lifter, Scotch Ale. That's very good.
Now that I know that, I will make sure that I keep you in steady supply. That's easy to do.
Yes.
It's that kilt,
Like Kilt
baby.
Lifter in the grocery store here.
You and Jeremy are like very sophisticated liquor drinkers. I'm like, give me that bottle.
What are you talking about? Sophisticated
And girl,
liquor?
you're gonna
I'm
like
drinking
that Sprite
straight
and
bourbon.
red wine recipe that I'm gonna send you.
Shiner Bock is a gateway beer to dark beer.
Shiner good.
It is.
It is good.
But
Uh,
I drank Shiner Bock and it gave me the gateway to start drinking stouts and a lot darker beer. And I'll tell you, one of the worst beers in the world is Michelob Ultra. Oh my
Oh, it's
goodness.
awful.
That's called beer water.
That
That-
is-
Yeah.
That's near beer.
it is.
Near beer.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, the big question that I have for all of you is, how's your DIR hangover going?
Not great,
Okay.
Bob.
Brandy's like,
First
"All
of
right."
all, I have decided that we're not using that word anymore. For starters, that word was coined by NCPA, and I refuse to promote anything that they came up with because they're not promoting me or helping me, so I refuse.
I love how
So-
they're out there right now tweeting about like, oh man, this is so terrible, this hangover. Motherfucker, you helped cause this. What are you
Yeah.
talking about?
Exactly. So there's a new coin phrase, and we're gonna make it go. Okay. So it's called Medicare-mageddon.
Medicare-mageddon.
It's my new favorite coin phrase for this. So and
Armageddon.
it sucks.
Hey.
It sucks.
Yeah, it ain't
Absolutely
great.
sucks.
I'm so sorry. I am so
Look,
sorry.
look, I posted this thing about, the 200 prescriptions that I ran
Yes.
compared to ones that were ran a month ago. And I'm like, this is so insane. And so I was like, okay, surely this can't really represent what's going to happen. Oh, yeah. And it got worse. You don't even know really what's happening. And I'm like, I was not losing this much money before. I knew for a fact I was not losing this much money before.
They're taking it all out up front and supposedly, oh, well, at the end of the quarter, you'll get your check to make it up. No, we fucking won't. Well, we'll get some piddly little thing that based on quote unquote performance and they're going to act like that. And now it's even harder to figure out how much we were fucking paid. They've made it
Yeah.
worse. It's all worse right now.
It's so much worse. So you have the CVS that comes up and says, oh, we're going to charge you a 34-cent DIR fee. And I'm like, that's bullshit. We know for a fact you're charging more than that, but now they've MAC priced everything. So the reimbursements are just like pennies, absolute pennies. I'm like, how's this even possible? And then SilverScript, terrible. But supposedly SilverScript is better on the brands, but I quit doing brands because we were losing so much money on it. And I'm like, so now I got to bring friggin' brands back? That's going to be a lovely cash flow landscape.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's just so frustrating. So I had that DIR fee estimator loaded into my system where it would tell you when you ran the claim through so you could see essentially, what they were going to pull back. And whenever I compare those claims a month ago to these claims, like they're not even remotely close.
Yeah.
So
they're
I don't
taking
know what
more
game they're
up
playing.
front than I think they did beforehand. As far
Right.
as like total, I think they're taking more and more
Yes.
than they did as far as our net at the end that we didn't even see. I think they're doing that because they're putting more of a cash flow crunch on us because they know people are folding left and right now. And once everyone
Exactly.
gets that shitty check at the end of the quarter and just like, this ain't getting any better, way more people will fold.
So they're supposed to be like truing us up at the end of the quarter now? Because I'm direct, so I don't deal with GER, BER.
That's supposedly what's going on. We're paying out the max amount that we're supposed to, and then based on performance, we're supposed to get a check later. We'll see how that goes down. I have no faith in any of that actually like being anything worth a shit, so we'll see.
So now they just get to escrow our money even and make even more money off of our money than they did before.
Yes. Yeah,
that's awesome.
So I'd heard, word on the street, at least where I've been, is that some of these fees were no longer being called DIR fees. There was this sort of spirit of like, oh, we're not doing that anymore, but there's in their place are new fees, maybe fees you haven't seen before. And I'm wondering if, are you seeing that, Brandi? Because you're talking about like you weren't losing this much money before. Now I'm wondering, is that an example of that?
Actually, doing generics. So, we've only been doing generics for like the last year and a half. And I knew exactly what plans. And to be honest with you, we were doing really, really well. Like I knew what plans, I knew what payers, I had it all figured out. And now I don't have a clue. So the only thing that comes up, and so I can run a report, the only thing that comes up is CVS with a 34-cent DIR fee, and they call it a DIR fee. And then there's a 75-cent fee on Express Scripts because I took the retired teachers plan because we have a ton of retired teachers in my area, and myself and CVS are the only pharmacies around that are going to serve them, and they hate CVS. So the only thing that comes up is 75 cents. They don't call it a DIR fee. They just call it a fee. And then Humana's supposed to be taking 4%. But you don't get to see what's actually happening. Honestly, I don't know. I'm so lost, and I have not felt this lost in years. I'm so lost when I look at these.
What do you mean? I don't know what you're talking about. You could take all these huge losses because you are going to make it all up on the front end when you diversify your revenue stream on your front end selling knickknacks. And while you're doing that, you gotta lean into the clinical stuff. You're gonna make $20 on that MT in 2 hours on. You're gonna make all that money back up. You gotta get with it because this is the way things are gonna go now.
If I wanted to run a clinic, I would have invested in a clinic. I'm not trying to run a damn clinic. Yeah. I'm trying to run a pharmacy.
Yep.
And having to add all this extra crap, it's ridiculous.
Even if you
fact that anyone
you're not going to make that much money.
Yeah. The fact that anyone continues to push this, this is not the solution. The solution is to get our reimbursements where they should be, not add more crap for me to do just to try to make up for the money that we're not being reimbursed fairly.
And if you notice, those people that are pushing all these extra things to do, they're dropping quicker than we are. So,
guaranteed.
What's that tell you?
Guaranteed.
Whether it's actually going out of business or fucking prison, they're dropping.
It's probably been 7 or 8 years ago that I talked to Hoy at the NCPA convention, and I said, why don't you push to get a NADAC plus a real professional fee? And he said, oh, they'll just screw it over and you'll end up making nothing. NADAC is, is a real cost, and you'll only make whatever, $1 or something for a professional fee. What are you making now? 25 cents? Zero? Negative?
I think NADAC a few years ago sounded better than it does now. Now we know with all the different formulas and them being like, oh, well, we'll do this plus this fee, and that's how we'll come up with prices. We know good and well they're just going to game whatever metric they want to. Whatever they calculate as price, they're going to use this or that and their formula in there. They'll game whatever metric they want to. If they want to go NADAC plus this or that, they're going to take NADAC and they'll be like, well, you know what? We're going to do NADAC and we're going to put a multiplier on there of 0.9 starting off depending on how your performance is. They're going to fuck us no matter what because we can't do anything about it. They're not going to take a loss in money. Someone's going to pay for it, and we're not going to get anything extra. We're their competitors. They're not going to make sure we live. They're not.
Well, and then that's where I've said that this Health, Education, Labor, and Pensions Committee within the Senate, that's the place that really needs to be detailed really hard because they have the ability to push stuff and get things moving legislative wise. And it's going to have to come from the legislative side because CMS can't change what's already there. Bush set the thing up back in 2003 when the MMA was passed. And a lot of the stuff he has tied CMS's hands. And that comes directly from our regional pharmacist that is in Kansas City. So you're going to have to go to the most dysfunctional group on earth, our legislature in DC, to try and get them to do something. And crap, they can't even figure out what kind of toilet paper to put in the bathroom.
I mean, they're trying to do something right now, and it's all like little half measures. They're just like, oh, and then we're going to do this study where we have transparency that comes out in 25 so that we see what's going on. And then they're going to pass that, and they're all going to fucking get dick calluses from jerking each other off so much over passing that and act like they solved the fucking problem. That's what's going to happen. No one's going to actually solve anything. We can't count on them to do shit. And it's like, what are we going to do? Because you got all these people out there that are just like, you know, what if you go straight cash and you go adjacent to the system and you don't do this? Yes, direct primary care doctors, I love you and I love your business model. You all don't know jack fucking shit about pharmacy and how pharmacy works. We have real fucking inventory. We can't be like, oh no, you're not going to have this new state-of-the-art drug that we don't make money on to our patients. It don't fucking work that way. Get out of my goddamn mentions. Fucking ridiculous.
Speechless.
To change Medicare, it still has to come from that. And when I last owned a pharmacy, 35% of my business was Medicare.
Mine is even more than that. I'm so Medicare heavy, and it's a killer. It is such a killer.
And it was a moneymaker at one time.
Yeah.
Not anymore.
No. Medicaid used to be great, too. And then all the MCOs killed that.
I could see when I last worked how bad the reimbursements were. You know, the lady I worked for, finally, she got a different computer system, and you can actually see what's going on. With QS1, you couldn't see that. And I can look and see, and I just sit there and silently shake my head going, I don't know how this all adds up. You know, one of the things that
operate so bare bones that it's just you and as fewer techs as you can, and you're ordering inventory as you need it because the cash flow's so bad that you pretty much just have to try to make sure you're getting paid for what you're getting before your inventory's up.
Exactly.
It's ridiculous.
That's the only thing you can do.
Yeah, and then they delay your payments all the time, so what's that fucking matter? So you can't count on anything to come in on time, but of course your inventory payment, you better not fucking delay that. So it's, it's ridiculous.
The other thing that needs to be asked is if and when you get a chance to corner your congressman or one of your senators, ask them if they would work for, pick out a figure, 25 cents an hour or 25 cents. Come up with a good analogy of what you're getting paid. Or would you work for something where you're guaranteed zero profit and you might not even make your cost?
we could put like a gun on it and put DIR on it, and then we approach the lawmakers really quickly waving the gun. It'll work out really well.
Yeah, Jeremy, that'll work out really well.
Look at this DIR fee!
Well, and then you could squeeze it and a flag comes out and says bang.
Bang.
Yeah.
So
No, it says
CMS
pay
would-
me. Give me all your money.
Yeah, the flag comes out and says pay me.
Yeah.
This ain't even the worst
Yeah.
way I went to jail.
That might be a good cartoon to come up with.
Oh, that's not a bad
Hey,
idea.
there you go.
So CMS
Yeah.
did, put that letter out asking or suggesting that the PBMs not charge DIR fees, right? If I remember that correctly.
And they
That was
laughed all the way
pathetic.
to the shredder.
Oh, gee, shucks,
sure-
guys.
so they
Don't
were
you
like,
go
"That is
doing
so
that.
cute."
What?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well-
they're really going to take care of us.
Silly
This
CMS.
clueless
Aw,
shit.
look
Well,
at
what are they
them.
going to do? Piss off the people that are going to hire them in a few years? All those CMS people go and work for the industry afterwards. They're going to piss
Right.
off their future employer. They're not going to do it.
Although, did you see where Tim Wentworth, the new CEO for Walgreens, is he the CEO for Walgreens
Mhm.
that came from Express Scripts?
Yep.
And now he's complaining about reimbursements.
Yeah, it's hilarious. Oh,
Hey,
man,
Tim,
so
welcome to the
terrible.
world.
Leopards ate my
Yeah.
face
Oh,
when I
my
voted for the
goodness.
leopards ate my face
Yeah, that-
party.
Somebody needs to post that and say, that's the most damn ridiculous thing I have ever heard. He knows damn well what reimbursements are. If he doesn't, maybe that's why he's not CEO of Express Scripts anymore, because he didn't have a clue.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and that's an interesting point because, like, oh, sure, use your platform, such as it is, to complain, or why not use your past connections, the friends you surely still have inside of Express Scripts, and actually do something about it now from the pharmacy side. Now that you see what's happening and all these people are walking out on the job because they don't want to kill patients because they're exhausted and they are having to process more than you'd ask a machine to do. Maybe just use what you have available to you, Tim Wentworth, right? That would be an option.
Right. You could do
I
that.
like the
I mean,
pig that just flew behind your Monique.
Oh, thanks.
All those higher ups, they all just sit around and they suck up as much money as they can. They're like, oh, well, I'll improve this for shareholders. That's all they care about. And whenever they switch sides or whatever, it's, they'll do what they can, I guess, but no one has any loyalty to anyone. It takes a special, brain to get to that level. And it takes a lack of character, really, in a lot of ways, to get to that level. They vet them pretty well. You don't get up to the upper echelons of these companies that cause this much harm without really selling your fucking soul. That's why it's few and far between we actually get people that come out and say something whenever they were in higher ups. And usually it's like a major fucking thing that happens to them, or they see something that changes their life. Like Wendell Potter, he was just doing a lot of their pushing as far as advertising and stuff. And, he drank the Kool-Aid. He kind of believed it. And a lot of them do drink the Kool-Aid, but they do a good job of vetting out the people who, once the entire facade's over, they're still going to be on Express Scripts side, or they're going to be on Caremark side. They're not going to let those people up there.
right.
There's a correlation. You guys probably have seen this too. There are studies on sociopaths. There's a correlation between people who make it into high level leadership and make the kind of money that some of these CEOs make, and sociopathy. So it wouldn't surprise me if someone, like the former head of Express Scripts, currently the head of Walgreens, or anyone else from that ilk, just could
Karen, good old Karen.
if they just either, and I'm not defending them, but just suggesting maybe they not only do they not have an interest in empathizing, they didn't get that chip at birth or something. Who knows?
Well,
So-
they're going to start feeling a lot differently when there's actual blood that is spilled over it, because that will happen eventually, because they've put too much out of reach. People are getting mad,
Fortunately,
and
yeah.
I can't say
Right.
that on Twitter.
Well, there was a protest in, there was a protest in Boston about a low income neighborhood where they're closing a Walgreens and these people aren't going to have any access, and they're protesting the closure of this pharmacy.
Eh.
And somehow when I'm reading this article and I'm going down this rabbit hole, which I love to do, and I see this interview that Karen Lynch gave where she's talking about everything that Caremark is doing, and they're pushing more into the medical side. And she says, and so we'll come into your home and we'll be able to look into your refrigerator and make sure you're eating healthy. And I'm like,
what the
what?
fuck? I didn't see
What?
that.
Oh, welcome to the United States.
And Caremark's not coming in my house at all.
Yeah,
I'll kick their ass all the way back up to my electric gate, and maybe I'll just throw them over the damn barbed wire.
Right. I mean, I was watching this interview and I'm like, oh my gosh. It's talking
There's
about
a
like
reason
Oakmont.
they're pushing us so hard right now to try to get us out. We're some of the only people calling this out anymore. Like half of the doctors are owned at this point. Like they've only got so much left to conquer before there's no one that's actually going to say anything anymore.
So this is their push for the year. They're pushing into the medical side. They're going to bring people into their minute clinics, and then they're going to push them to their, was it called Oakmont, that medical provider that they took over?
Oak Street.
Oak Street, that's it.
Yep.
So then they can refer their patients to their Oak Street clinics, and then they can do home visits and make sure they're eating nutritional food and they're taking their vitamins, and that they're, and she even went so far as saying, and we can walk around your house and make sure that you don't have a rug on the ground that you might trip on. Yeah. I was like,
and then while you're doing that, all you got to do is give us your social security check.
Right. Wow. Yeah.
Yeah. They know what they're doing. It's, yeah.
Oh, exactly. And the guy even came out and he goes, well, so, can you commit to me that, you're talking about how you want patients to be healthier and you want to work on, obesity. So can you commit to me that, you'll take the cheese balls away from the checkout counter in your CVS stores?
You're going to carry healthy food.
They patted themselves on the back about, taking cigarettes out, but the liquor and the crap that they sell is nowhere near healthy. But actually, so I was thinking about something that you just said, and there's a chance that what they're trying to do might spectacularly fail based on the following obscure fun fact, which is that one of the little things known about the World Trade Centers before they fell in terrible tragedy in 2001 was that they were actually a failure. They had been built in the, I want to say early 70s, but the idea behind them was they were going to be these self-contained communities. They were going to have homes and businesses and grocery stores and entertainment centers. And the idea was it would be completely self-contained. You could just do everything in these towers. And what they discovered was that people didn't want that. People wanted to be outside. They wanted to walk on the streets. They wanted, street life, right? So when the towers fell, which was horrible, and all the tragedy that came with that,
Monique's going to make sure that we know that she thinks it's terrible what she's about to say.
I feel bad about that. I don't want to like shamelessly exploit what happened, but it just pointed to an interesting failure of the original concept, right? This all self-contained concept, and people don't really talk about that because of the other side of that story. But when you look at like a self-contained system, people don't really like that. They don't like this whole idea that someone would walk into your house and be like, hi, I'm here to care for you, Brandi. Oh, look at what you've got in the refrigerator, love. Oh, we think you need to
have to like it.
Diet, so we're going to throw out all the
shareholders have to like it.
Yeah.
That's it. This is exactly like on Succession whenever he was promising like, oh, well, we have our own communities here based on RIPs and everything else. And maybe we'll work on immortality. That's exactly what this fucking is.
Right.
Oh, maybe you come live in our communities and maybe we'll get you access to cutting edge drugs and maybe some transplant for our new pig organ unit. We're going to do that here at our retirement homes. Yeah, guarantee CVS is going to try that.
Maybe it's about taking you to a
Logan Roy shit.
Life and then being like, okay, you've lived long enough, so it's time. Bye-bye.
Yeah.
It kind of goes back to my original zigzag principle. You've got one or two giant companies that are running everything. And that's what they're moving to in healthcare. And everybody is dumb enough to go, well, we don't want the government in our health care.
Yeah.
We don't want a single payer system. But at the same time, that's what we're going to. You're going to have a single or maybe two payers that are in the private sector, and you lost all your control. And you don't have a lot of control with the government, don't get me wrong, but at least you got a vote at this moment in time.
Right.
Now,
right.
depending on how everything goes, you might not have that in the future. But
well, if they're able to get rid of all the independents,
yes,
then
no one can
they can
call
just
them out.
they can just slowly weed it all out, and then they've all basically worked within that same system for one of the top three. I mean, they could just be like little alien plants, you know? They're like, okay,
we're some of the only people that
work
can
for
actually see the
Walgreens.
data. Like some of it. That's why they try to obscure it so much from us. Even now, we're the only people that can see some of these reimbursements and how it's working, and that's why we're screaming so much. You think the docs care about most of this shit? They're only now getting involved because it's actually affected their bottom line as much. We have to, like, we're actually there running these things through on adjudication and seeing it constantly. We're the ones that they're after right now for a reason.
Right. And when I hear things like, oh, well, this happened to primary care physicians however many years ago, I'm like,
bullshit.
Yeah.
It's bullshit. Pharmacy has been at the forefront of everything in all my career. I started in 1977, and I was at the very beginning of when the federal government created a MAC list, and then saw the advent of the personal computer, which then allowed adjudication of claims online, and everything has went downhill since then. You can't explain to other healthcare providers how our system even works, and that, you know, realistically, we shouldn't be waiting even 14 days to get paid. We should be paid within 48 hours of a claim.
It should be
it's
instant.
not impossible. It's not impossible to do. Like every time I hear, oh, well, we can't implement this now. We have to change all of our systems, this, that, and the other. I'm like, such crap. That is such crap.
Well,
5 little check boxes and it's good to go.
Yeah.
And I sat down within the last 4 or 5 months with the CEO of a federally qualified health center where I used to live at, and I was on the board of directors of that. And I sat down and tried to explain to him and 2 ladies that worked in his billing area how they need to be working at getting claims in real time. And what come down to, well, the doctors can't do it. And I'm going, what? The doctors can't do it? Man, there's a problem here. Kick them in the butt and get them doing what they're supposed to do. Hell, they have medical assistants, and get them a scribe. The scribe, they can look at them and say, bill for XYZ, and send it. And when people walk out, they should be able to pay for it. I mean,
docs should make it up by selling knickknacks at their register.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay, sell more toothpaste.
Sell more knickknacks, goddammit.
So we're in the last few minutes before we close out our happy hour. Well,
can I just give I have to give a really quick shout out, and if you haven't seen it, you've got to go look at Arthritis Centers of St. Louis and Dr. Bach and what he is doing about prior authorizations. It's fantastic.
Oh, it's awesome. Yeah.
Okay, all right.
Oh, this is so awesome. This is great. It'll never work, but I'll love it.
Okay, all right, I'll check that out. We'll check that out. All right, so it's January, it's 2024. In many ways, it's Groundhog Day. We'll be doing this thing again for Groundhog Day. But in the meantime, what are you guys looking forward to in 2024? What is the best possible thing that could happen, all things considered, for this year?
Survive it.
Total healthcare reform.
Targeted arson. Not
coming
from me.
Any specific social media accounts.
Not from me, and my Twitter account did not say it either.
They're not giving up where that came from. I think, there's so much to be said about the work that pharmacy, the profession has done, but in particular, I just want to say something about PUT and the work we've done. 2024 and 2016, nobody knew what a PBM was. In 2024, my Arizona Congressman Ruben Gallego just announced he's submitting a packet of PBM reform bills.
Nice.
That's taking
So
us,
awesome.
going to take us into the mid 40s in terms of bills for PBM. So I'm optimistic. And I also think that we have to go where the market is, and we have to start talking to the people who buy the benefits, because I genuinely believe in my heart of hearts that now that the conversation's been out there, buyers want to know. They want to know, are they really getting the best deal, or are they getting cut out? And I think that, to the points all of you have made, we are the people to say that. So I think with that,
Cheers.
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 I am your God.
To learn more about Pharmacists United for Truth and Transparency and how you can help fight PBM abuse of our healthcare system, visit our website at truthrx.org.